Okay, Dr. Sarah, welcome back to Emotionally Unavailable. Look what I have here. My first book was called Owning My Crazy, and the cover,
Serious?
yeah, and the cover reminds me so much of yours.
Oh, that's
So this felt so
hilarious.
faded. Now I haven't had a chance to read any of it because it's been a little bit of a shit show around here, but
It's
Lori, I
okay.
promise I'm getting you your copy sometime soon. I promised a listener. And then I have another copy if anybody else, I haven't figured out how to decide who gets it. So, listeners, let me know if you want one. Anyway, I'm super excited. I'm really excited about it. Like the second I got it in the mail, I was like, "Oh my God, this feels so just." I'm kind of like a cover whore. I love covers of books. Now that I've designed some, I like really
Right.
take note of them, and I was like, "Damn, this is kind of perfect." And I love the title. I love the title so much. So, anyway, I'm glad to have you back. I hope this will be a recurring situation. I loved meeting you and talking with you and just I don't know, I felt really good. I've gotten a lot of really good feedback on the episode too, just so you
Oh,
know.
nice.
Yeah, people
Well, you
loved
know
it.
what? It's funny because you said you use crazy in your title. And the thing is, like, people were like, oh, that's not very feminist, or like, you can't call
Uh-huh.
women crazy and all that stuff. But this is the thing. When over the 30 years of practicing, when someone would come in and be in a relationship that was codependent or with an addict or whatever, guess what they said? I feel crazy.
That's right.
So that's why I gave it that title because I mean, I felt crazy when my husband relapsed. I was like, what is
Exactly.
happening?
Exactly. No.
Yes.
So, okay, I actually got this too a little bit because I think I said it was Owning My Crazy is the title of my
Yes.
book. And so I got a couple little pushbacks from it, and I'm like, it's to me, it's like the word fat. You can't call someone else fat, but if someone was to claim that word for themselves and reclaim what that means,
Yeah.
that's
Right.
fine. And
Right.
listen, finding out you're not really crazy is the biggest gift you give yourself from doing this work, but the fear
Yes.
is, "Oh, I'm fucking crazy and I need help." That
Yes.
we all feel y'all can pretend like you don't, but that is what we're doing is like, I think, "Oh my God, I think I'm crazy." Like, I think
Right.
that's what this is.
And you know what? Yeah, and that word that came out, gaslighting, in the last few years, I mean, I think there's always just these new words for,
Yeah.
like, old stuff.
Buzzwords,
I mean,
yeah.
addicts, and people that are troubled have blamed their partners forever. "Well, if you didn't do
Forever.
this, I wouldn't drink. If you didn't do," and so it
No,
makes
that's so
someone
true.
feel crazy. I mean,
Yes.
I had this client one time who said he would come home. I don't know if I told you this story, but he would come home after being gone for 3 days, and he would come in, and his wife would be like, "Where have you?" And within 2 minutes, his wife would be apologizing to him because he'd walk in and he'd say, "Well, why would I come home to a house like this? Why would I come home to you so pissed at me all the time? You're," and it's like, so he would immediately blame her for him
Yes.
being gone for 3 days, and that's an addict.
Yes.
So, I mean, and probably a lot of other diagnoses, but, yeah, feeling crazy is part of, like, when we don't really know what's going on. So, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
with you.
well, and I guess if we take what once was the definition, the
Right.
ever expanding definition of crazy, that's the thing that we're thinking, we're feeling, that's the face to the name that we put to it, is all of this um loss of sanity. Well, of
Right.
course you feel like you've lost your sanity when you're in a
Right.
situation like that. But let's back up right there.
Yeah.
Codependency breeds, creates, compounds, cultivates overthinking. It creates
Mhm.
so much noise in your mind, body, and spirit.
Right.
That's crazy. That's where you
Right.
feel all that crazy because it's just a bunch of noise. And
Right.
that's been the thing that I've had to really unravel
Yes.
in myself is what is that noise? Where did it come from? why am I so intent on listening to it? And it's to
Right.
me like, yeah, if from the time I was little, there was this time with my mom. I was 14. She had been sober for 22 months at that point. Well, not 22. 22 was her longest amount of sobriety I ever got from her. But we were at about
Got it.
month 20 at this point. And I got really pissed and disclosed sexual abuse in a real bratty kind of way. I mean, I'm not upset at myself, but I was being a brat, and I had feelings I wanted to express and did it in a way that
Yeah.
just a 14-year-old would do
You
it,
didn't know
basically.
how.
Yeah.
Right.
So I disclosed sexual abuse, and this was literally the very end of the sobriety. But she was like, "Really?" And I didn't know. And I'm just the worst mother, and what is even the point in
Oh, boy.
sobriety and blah, blah, blah. She had gotten prescribed muscle relaxers from the doctor for anxiety, basically, by this point. And so she wasn't technically sober, but she felt like she was because she didn't know shit about those medicines. You know what I mean? And so
Right.
but she was teetering on the edge. I mean, we were days away from her relapsing at this point. So she was searching for anything, but she said a lot more in that conversation, but
Fine.
very much was like, in essence, blaming me, the situation, but ultimately, like, just because I'm such a terrible person, I'm a terrible mother, but putting that weight on me for saying something, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's an addict. That's what addicts do. Like, my son would say things like, "I was too easy on him." When the truth is like, "Well, no, son, the part I contributed to your addiction was, the chaos I created in your fucking life. I can own that." But all this bullshit that he would say, though, just to make himself feel better about what he was doing, like, it was ridiculous
Yeah.
because, like, bitch, I'm not taking that. I'm not gonna accept that, and I didn't. When he would say it, I would take it in the spirit in which he intended it, and then I would be like, "Okay, and I love you." I'm not gonna, like, dismiss what he's saying, but in my heart, I was like, "No, we have some real shit to discuss, and if ever you're open to that, I can apologize for lots of things." But I was
Right.
too easy on you? Bitch, I was not too easy on you.
Yeah, I mean, this is like perfect for so much of a conversation about trauma and codependency and addiction. I mean, that is very classic, right? Your first example of the mom, your
Mhm.
mom. It's like, so it be, and addicts can also be super narcissistic.
Oh, yeah.
So all of a sudden you're expressing this trauma you're having, and what happens? She becomes the victim and
Yes.
you become the perpetrator. Like you're the one that's now done it to her. Now
Uh-huh.
that's the total wrong interpretation, totally invalidates the child, totally, a mistake. But it is so classic in the addiction world. It's just, I mean, and it's a horrible experience, and you hear these sexual abuse survivors say, "I told my parents, and they either didn't believe me or they blamed me because they couldn't tolerate the awareness that they may have had some
Right.
participation in what
It
happened,"
triggers their
right? So
shame.
they have to blame the victim.
It's
Yeah,
all shame. Like, that's and as I
yeah,
kinda unraveled that in myself, I could absolutely act for myself, and nobody I'm not telling anyone else how to feel. But for me, I
yeah,
was able to relinquish anything I felt about that once I unraveled my own shame because I fully understand she couldn't handle what came up in her when I told her that, and her first
right,
instinct was to deal with shame in this way, and you know what? We're all guilty of that at some point, in our
right.
lives in some form or another. So now, this many years later, I've been able to like release I don't even care about it anymore. But fuck, for years I did. I
Right.
was like, damn, I caused my mom to relapse. Shit.
Oh, and that's just the other piece of it, right? The blaming you for, I mean, and that's classic addiction behavior, right? We will deny, we will justify, we will rationalize, we will minimize. I mean, anything to take the responsibility off of us for our relapse. My boss
Right.
did this, my wife did this, my kid did this. when really, and you already know this, that, when I would see a client finally get to not blaming everybody else and finally seeing, wow, I may have a part in this. I may have some responsibility here. That's when their recovery really begins. Because when
Absolutely.
someone, and again, it's also not to minimize, a lot of shit happened to me. I mean, stuff does happen to us and when
Absolutely.
we're out there using, right? But
Yes.
stuff happens, but I still have to own how it's affected me and now how I'm
Yes.
going to be with the world because of it. I can't take it
Yes.
out on everybody. So,
Yes.
yes, absolutely.
Well, and to me, I feel like all healing, whether you're healing an addiction or trauma, whatever, which addiction is related to trauma, period. But whatever you're healing, it starts with that level of accountability that just says, I have a role in my own suffering.
Yeah,
It and it sounds so easy when we're talking about behavior like you ran away from the house for 3 days to use and now you're coming back and making your wife feel like shit. It sounds easy for that person to take accountability, but it's not. And that's because they have a very well-versed story that they've carried for a lot of years about their victimhood. That's the only
right.
thing that allows them to continue to perpetrate this type of suffering on themselves and others is that story, period. And
Yeah,
and
yeah,
rewriting that story is tricky and sticky and difficult. I mean, for myself, when I finally realized, "Oh, I'm wrong about a lot, and I have fucked up a lot." I mean, I was embarrassed, like, to get there and be like, I really blamed a lot of people for some things that weren't
right.
anybody else's fault but mine." Like, oops.
Yeah,
And I
right.
felt just so, I mean, I don't know, at that point, almost morally bankrupt. Like, how could I, do that? Even just in my mind, even if they didn't know that I blamed them for everything, but or just the constant feeling sorry for myself, feeling like nobody loved me the way I love them. Those are very
Right,
well-versed stories, and it is very tricky
right.
to get someone to even be able to see it, let alone come to it and confront it.
Yeah, I mean, it requires a lot of humility. I
Yes.
mean, and it requires a lot of self-forgiveness and not making up huge stories about what it means. I
Yes.
mean, I will remember, something I did when I was a drug addict, like stealing my mother's jewelry or something and selling it for drugs. And I will get that feeling up my spine like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I did that." And yet, I've made my amends, I've made my reparations, so whatever guilt or shame, if it's still there, it's just gonna get in the way of me being of service and living my life. It does absolutely no good. So, once
Yeah.
you've done your part and you've again, like made your amends in life or you're doing living amends, then it's time to move on. I mean, we've all done stuff. I
We've
mean,
all
believe
done
me,
stuff.
everybody I know has done stuff they're ashamed of, right? And especially if you're an addict and your morals, went out the window. I mean, oh my God. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of stuff I've done that I had to forgive myself for, but
Yes.
I don't want to be stuck in that. It's like Bill
Yes.
W says, you don't want to be stuck in morbid reflection. Like, I don't want to be stuck in the darkness. Like, we've got to just own it and move on. So super important. And the other thing when you were saying about like the blaming someone else, I mean, that's why I got so into codependency because I think codependent people can so easily also become the victim. Like the addict can be the victim, but the codependent person who, say, has lived with an alcoholic for 20 years and, suffered and been a victim to all this stuff can easily think, and this is the trouble with codependency, oh, they just need to change and then I'll be happy. And really,
Yes.
it's not about that. It's not waiting for other people to change. We may wait forever,
You
right?
likely will
And,
wait forever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't base my happiness on what someone else is doing or feeling or thinking, because then I'm not in control of my own life. And that is basically the definition. I'm waiting for someone else to think and feel and behave in a certain way so I can be okay. And
Absolutely.
that's a
Well,
losing
and
battle.
even if we're not talking about addicts, this is the thing I hear
Absolutely.
from so many people who I'm like, that and if I could lovingly tell you that's codependence, because I hear it all the time. Well, if they would just, and I'm like, and I fucking hear you and feel you deep in my soul with what you're saying.
Yes,
And the thing is we can't analyze them. What do you need to be happy? What do you need to
absolutely.
feel fulfilled in this world? And it took understanding that part for myself, which I think I may have even told you the last time you were here. This is something new that I've really gotten to where I'm like, oh shit, I was still spending so much time analyzing and pathologizing other people's behaviors. That's
Yes.
codependence. Like me trying
Right.
to just understand why they do what they do. You don't fucking have to know why they do what they do. I am who I am. I love human behavior. I love studying it. I love knowing it. So, I can do that and it be a part of who I am, but I don't need to sit
Yeah.
around doing that to try to justify somebody else's actions. I don't need to do that. I need to sit and go, what do I need right now? Like if they hurt me, I
Yes.
hurt. If they abandon me, I feel abandoned. What do I need to move forward? Not sit around
Yeah.
in a thought loop about why they do what they do.
You just said it all. I mean, the thing is, I always see obsession is comes in after what I call taking the bait. So someone says to you, I don't know, I'm just going to give an example. Say my boyfriend says, well, if you don't want to do X, Y, and Z, I guess I'll go by myself or whatever. That's just a minor example of like a manipulative thing to say. And suddenly I'll think, oh my God, am I wrong to want to do my own thing? Should I go with him? Oh my God, is he going to be upset with me? What are they doing? Maybe I should get more, open to doing what he wants to. I mean, the obsession begins, right? And I start going down this rabbit hole of trying to figure out what they want and whether I'm right about having my need or not, rather than what you just said, which is, what do I want? What do I need? Oh, I really want to stay home tonight. I don't want to go out with him. Okay, that's great, and then communicating it clearly. But when someone like throws bait or manipulates or, tries to get what they want or gaslighting or trying to get us to care and they can't communicate clearly, then it starts. And the minute an obsession starts is a sign that you are hooked. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, you're in there. You're
right?
in there, friend. And you know what? It works on
Yes,
me about 6 out of 10 times still. But this is what I've noticed is like, oh,
yes,
okay, I get really activated when someone's disappointed in me or feeling like I let someone down, or even now I can understand I didn't let them down, but they feel really let down by me. Like I care a lot
yes,
about that. Okay. You
yes.
can care about other people, but you have to hold that container strong for your own safety. Nothing's wrong.
Yeah,
Just because you're activated doesn't mean anything else has changed in your environment. You can even, I feel, offer this person reassurance. Like, "Hey, I'm sorry that that bums you out that I'm not going. Like, I feel you. Like, I know you'd rather me go with you. I'm just not going to, you know? But
right.
without
Absolutely.
it meaning, like you said, we don't have to write a whole fucking novel about what any of this means. Them asking
No.
you and even shaming you doesn't have to mean shit. You just let it go. Like, what do
Yes,
I need? I need to hold the
yes,
boundary. I need to hold that safety container right here with my all of my love for myself and say, I don't want to go. I'm not going.
right. And it's such a small example, but it generalizes to, so many situations because it's about acknowledging what you need and being able to express it And what you just said, which is the most important thing, is tolerating, and what you just said, the fear
Tolerating.
of disappointing someone, that's huge. Over the years, I've known so many people that have that fear. I have a fear of disappointing someone. And so the biggest part is tolerating what's happening inside of me when that person looks like they're disappointed. And you just said it. I can say, "Geez, sweetie pie, I'm sorry you're disappointed that I'm not going." Period. I don't have to, one big thing that codependent people do is over-explain. I don't have
Yeah.
to go into some dissertation about why I'm not going, why I don't wanna see that band or go to that restaurant or whatever, or why I'm staying home, I'm really tired. I just have to say, "I really don't wanna go tonight."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
all of that is just yeah, I mean, that's all we need to do.
Because listen, I as the classic over-explainer, I don't anymore, but oh god, would I. But guess what? Guess what I learned? They don't fucking care what your explanation
No,
is. It just
no.
activates them more and more and more. They have already written their story. That story was written before you ever said no. So when you said
Yes,
no, it just activated a story that's coming up for them over and over and over. They don't fucking care
yeah,
what you said. I gave very one of the things that I have really struggled with in terms of holding a boundary is people coming to my house unannounced. Well, actually in general. I don't love having people over at my house. There's so much wrapped into that. And part of it is
yeah,
I was raised by my grandma who was fucking weird and didn't let anyone come over. So I've never really learned how to do that and I don't necessarily feel safe letting other people in my environment. You would be
right.
surprised the huge amount of chaos this has created in relationships over my boundary about not wanting people at my
Right.
house, right? So I used to just give really in-depth explanations about it and really try to get you to understand. Nobody fucking cared. Nobody. Like it was they would and which would then hurt me. Like I just told you really deeply personal shit about myself and you are still arguing with me. They don't care. They don't care about your why because it's not about you to begin with. Their shit has nothing to do with you.
Right, right. I saw a great line this morning because I'm doing a book review on this boundaries book, and it said something like, and I'm not going to say it right, but healthy relationships can tolerate boundaries. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're in a healthy relationship with someone, they're not going to give you shit about setting a boundary. They're going to say, okay, I get that and I respect that. And even if I have feelings about it, I can say I have feelings about it, but it doesn't
Sure.
mean that you change the boundary,
Yeah, and
right?
it's so reciprocal that even I can tolerate you telling me your feelings about my boundary. I can tolerate that. I can.
Yeah.
In all of my relationships right now, I have gotten to a place where you can say whatever you feel about what I'm presenting and I'm okay. It doesn't change anything about me. I already know my
Yes.
worth and value as a human doesn't change in anything. So I can tolerate it.
Yes.
I can have my feelings about your feelings and it can
Yes.
still just be fine. We can still just move on with our lives. But that was the
Yes.
missing piece for me, and it's the missing piece for so many people is, well, how do I fix your feelings? Like, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable, and now it's my fault that you feel uncomfortable. It's not your fault, and there literally is nothing you can do to fix their feelings for that moment. You can give in, and you can do what they're asking you to do, and guess what? It's
It'll
not gonna
keep
go away.
happening.
Yeah, it's just gonna
It's
keep
not
happening.
gonna go away, and the other thing and why I get so serious about this is you're not helping them to grow up. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
I probably said this the last time on your podcast. It's like that famous parenting book. If you keep packing your kid's backpack, they're going to start to believe they can't do it. The more I enable people, the more I do for them and try to take away their feelings. I mean, think about it. Think if I'm a parent and every time my kid cries or get upset, I'm like, no, 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 it's okay. You're gonna, instead of just letting them have their feelings. I mean, it's so crazy when you think about it. Human beings have feelings, it's what we do. And yet, people are so uncomfortable with like your child having a feeling or me having a feeling. It's like we are humans, this is what we do. It's like it's pathologized. And so it's
Absolutely.
just yeah, teaching people that it's normal. And the other piece that you just made me think of is think about this. Say I'm in a relationship and my whole thing, because I'm codependent, is my partner feeling okay, which really is more about me feeling okay because
Yeah.
I only can feel okay when he's okay, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so say sometimes I'm doing certain behaviors and sometimes he feels okay and then other times he doesn't and I'm trying to fix it, but he's not okay. So he's okay, he's not okay, which is human. Well, that's called the intermittent reward system, right? The intermittent reward system is when you get something and then you don't, then you get something. And that's what slot machines are based on.
Yup.
So it's the most addictive form of relating to think that what they're doing has to do with me. And so and some people say codependency is like being addicted to a person. Well,
Yeah.
if I'm super attached to them being okay all the time, it is an addictive relationship, right?
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, and it's gonna hook you every time that they're not okay, because now I'm
Everything.
completely attached to what they're doing, and that's codependency.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're, like, constantly monitoring somebody else's mood, even your children, and I told
Yes.
you before, that's the area that I've really identified as a struggle for me is not jumping into
Yes.
rescue. Um, I'm
Yeah.
I'm learning how to s I'm building my tolerance, but I'm learning how to
I
sit
know.
there and to
Yeah.
hold what they're saying and expressing and know that it doesn't write a story about me at all, that they're,
Yes.
expressing this, and also validating, offering love, but not
Yep.
trying to change it. Not and that
Yes.
it was hard for me to see though that I was rescuing still. I'm it really took
Yes.
some uncovering to see you are jumping in because you don't like the way you feel. It
Yes.
I would this is the way I describe it for myself, is I would fucking love to just go about my day, and if I'm in a good mood, stay in a good mood. Nobody else interfere with my bubble of good mood, right? And then
Right.
one of my children not having a good day, they come and they interfere with my little fucking bubble.
Yep.
Sometimes the rescuing happens because I just want the bubble to be back intact. Like, you just interfered with it. I wanna recreate it really quickly, so sure, I'll just hurry and fix whatever's wrong with you, and then, "Oh, my bubble's back." And it's not easy always to keep my bubble intact when somebody else approaches it with a shitty day, but
Right.
that's the
Right.
work right there, is
Right.
keeping my bubble intact regardless.
You know what? I was thinking this morning, what is the most challenging codependent relationship? So I have a partner, when I had parents, I have a child, I have friendships, I had a boss. And for me, it's the child every time. The kids, for
Mhm.
me, I don't know if it's because we feel responsible. I don't know if it's just hard to like, literally raising a child is like a chronic letting go because
Yeah.
every age they become and the older we have to let go more and more. And our purpose and our job, in a way, is constantly shifting. Oh, I have to let them do their homework tonight. I can't do their homework. They're not in second grade when I would help them, or
Right.
whatever the case may be. So it's this chronic opportunity of looking at our own stuff. And I just think the parenting one, even now, I have a 24-year-old
Mhm.
and he just was going to move from one apartment to the next. And he was like in a little crisis of, am I going to get someone to take over this other apartment? And I could feel the anxiety. Oh, I can fix it. I'll give him some money. And it's like I had to not do any of it because he the thing is this, if I can tolerate the feelings, he gets the win. He gets the self-esteem. He gets to feel good about resolving a problem, right?
Yes.
If I'm
Yes.
coming in and saving them every time, it's taking away from him building self-esteem, and I have to remember that every time.
Every time, every time.
Every
I even
time.
get really woo-woo with it sometimes too, and I'm like, "You're taking away expansion, you're taking away consciousness," but I really do have to think like that, or else I will fucking jump in every time because I don't like the
Right.
way I feel, because I get
I know.
activated, and I have to be
Yeah.
able to tolerate it, like you said. It is hard, but I think what makes it so hard, like you said, is we do feel responsible. And in some when they're young, you are responsible for their
Right.
well-being. And that does mean emotional well-being too, but it doesn't mean that it's your job to make sure that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week that they're happy.
Yes.
And that's where I have struggled their whole lives. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
now I still feel a level of responsibility because I'm the reason they exist on this planet. And I think that's okay
Right.
to feel some sort of something about that. What I feel my responsibility for their well being at this level, like with the 23-year-old, is to be available to apologize anytime I need to be there and hold space for anything he's feeling about anything, and with the 12-year-old, I'm still raising her, so,
Yeah.
lots of responsibility, but I don't I am not responsible for their thoughts, feelings, or behavior, and
Yes.
that's the thing I've really been like, "Does
I
this
know.
fall in this category?" Like, what category does this fall in? If I'm trying to be responsible for their thoughts, that's not my job. Feelings, not my job.
Yeah, and so this is the thing I would say is, you know, I don't know if we talked about this last time, but there's this whole thing about I can't remember what theory it was or what therapist I heard this from, but when our kids are certain ages, our own internal landscape gets triggered of what happened to us at that age.
Mhm.
So, say I was I don't know, molested at 8 years old. I've had this with clients, and they come in to see me, and they start telling me, "God, I'm having all these weird feelings. I don't know what's happening to me. I've gotten depressed." And then we break it down, and it turns out their daughter's 8 years old. Suddenly, they're
Mhm.
having their own trauma reactivated, right? So there's that phenomenon. So what happens as a parent is I might get activated about something, but it's really a lot of it is my own fear from the past. So, say, my kid is, I don't know, got his license and is going out driving for the first time or something. And I suddenly have all this anxiety and I'm like, what the heck? Like, and I start controlling him. All right, you need to only go out for an hour. And like, I start just like my codependency and my control starts coming. Then I need to say to myself, what is happening? Like, why am I feeling? And I always am able to tell when I'm activated, when something feels urgent. If I'm suddenly in this urgent spiral to control something, it's about me.
Yeah.
So the question is, what am I afraid of? What happened? Like what happened in my past that this situation now is reminding me of? And a lot of times when we want to control something, it activates our own powerlessness in earlier situations where we didn't have control. And it can be very tricky to parse that out.
Ooh,
But it's
yeah.
important because otherwise we're trying to manage what other people are experiencing. I mean, I don't know how many times my son has said to me, Mom, like, I'm fine. Like, I don't know what you're all wound up about, and I would get that realization like, oh, he's fine about going on this date or
Oh my
going to take
god,
this
yes.
exam. It's not about him.
Right.
That's really key. Yeah.
Oh my god, you just reminded me of all the times that like my oldest, one time, his very first spelling bee, he was the first one out in the first round because he misheard the word. 5th grade, I remember,
Yeah.
I'll never forget this. He was upset. Afterwards, I left and went back to work, cried the whole fucking day. I mean, I was in my shit about this. I pick him up from daycare
Yes.
after. Motherfucker's fine. says he had a fine day. He got a Snickers afterward, and that fixed everything for him. It has wrecked my whole day. I mean, whole day. I can't
Yes.
tell you how many times things like that have happened where I'm like, oh my God, and then they're just gonna be so upset and blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, no, I was fine. I'm like,
Yes.
oh, why did I do this to myself again?
Yes. But, at least see, the thing to me is, at least you know that. I mean, so many parents don't have that awareness. So what'll happen is they'll pick their kid up at daycare and they'll be like, "Honey, are you okay? I know you're so upset about the spelling bee." And they'll go on and on and on and create this whole problem that's not even there because of
Yeah,
their own fear. I mean, that is such a common thing with parenting. We project. I mean, our kids are just projection screens, right? We're
absolutely.
constantly projecting onto them.
Yes. Ooh,
Yeah,
your own fear and your own shame over and over and over and over and
over and over
over.
again.
Ugh,
I
that's
mean, when
been
my
so
go ahead.
tricky.
Yes,
Ugh.
yes,
And it's
yeah,
frustrating because you don't always see it until
no.
after, and then I'm like, "Fuck, I did it again." But
I
that is I
remember
mean,
when
you're right. This is the area I struggle the
yeah,
very most with codependence
yes,
is with
yeah,
my kids. I mean, not to
yes,
say I mean, still though, with other people too, like, if I feel like they might be hurt because of something I may or may not have done, it doesn't take much for me to just be activated and sit and be like, "Well, I mean, maybe I should just check and see if I upset them. Maybe I should
right,
just, what? First of all, no one's even said they're upset with you. Why are you sitting around scared about that? What? Why know why?
right,
I know because
right.
that meant I was unsafe when I was a kid and someone was
Yes,
upset. But damn, I can go on for about 20 minutes before I catch myself and be like,
yes,
Melissa, you were doing it again, honey. We don't have to do
right.
this.
It always goes back to safety. I mean, bottom line is it always goes back to feeling unsafe. But, the irony is, and you just gave a great example. So this friend of mine called me up the other night, and a long story short, she came home and her husband has some medical stuff. And he says to her, "Oh, I ended up like cutting down a bunch of branches and then I went for a walk and then I did this and now my body aches." And she was enraged because she's like, "You have this illness. You're not supposed to do that stuff. Why do you keep doing it to yourself?" And basically, she gets super activated because in her mind, if he gets hurt, who's going to take care of him? Like,
Right.
so it triggers her fear that I'm going to now, even though she doesn't need to take care of him, like he's fine, he's just sharing a feeling. So the appropriate response would be, "Oh man, honey, I'm sorry you don't feel well. You don't
Yeah.
need to fix it. You don't need to change it." So what happens though? She's up all night, worried about him, enraged with him, thinking about the conversation they're going to have the next day. I'm going to tell him this. I'm going to tell him that. Guess what? He wakes up. He says, "Hey, what's happening? I feel great." So it's like in his mind, he was just communicating something and then he was fine. But it triggered her codependency where now she's up all night trying to solve his problem that's not even there anymore. That's codependency.
Yes.
Yeah.
God, guilty, guilty. We used to have this really bad thing in my marriage where, because of my fear of loss, it wasn't very hard to trigger that. And so
Yes.
like, even just him, he'd be going out of town for work,
Yes.
and it would scare me so fucking bad. Like, it took a long time to understand that that's what was happening because what it looked like was me being angry. I would
Yes.
know it was coming, and then when it came, the anger would turn I would turn it on, and then I'd
Yes.
probably ignore most of his messages and calls while he was gone to punish him, like
Yep.
any
I
healthy
get it.
person would. And Yeah, it would be this huge, like, disaster, and then there would be this warming period when he came home where, like, I wasn't, like, immediately happy to see him because I was still in my anger and blaming him for being angry and all kinds of stuff, and it took a while to see, like, "Honey, you're just so afraid he's gonna die," like, that and there's
Yeah,
been times when he has hurt himself, and it's triggered that fear of loss to
yeah,
where I'm like, yeah, that's all well and good about your bodily autonomy, but I'm going to be the one that loses you. Like you'll be dead. You won't know, you know? And so that one's been a tough one for me too, because I can't
yes.
control my husband just because I'm afraid he's going to die. But I tried real hard. I did try real hard
I
to.
know.
I did. I was,
Well, the other thing with codependency that's so, I don't know, painful for both people, because my partner of a few years is codependent, and so I've gotten to really experience what it's like to be on the other side of it, and I'm here to tell you it's super annoying.
yeah, I bet.
Codependency in a relationship, and I mean, it's not that I don't do it. I'm not free of it either, believe me. But what I've realized is when someone's afraid, and thank God we can talk about this now,
Yeah.
he will suddenly start asking like all these questions. Like he'll like be like a kid. You know when a kid gets afraid and they start asking a bunch of questions? Like that's what he does. Like I had this medical situation a while back and he will suddenly get activated. And the next thing you know, he's like, "Have you measured your heart rate? Have you done this?" And I'm like, nothing's wrong. But it's like, I notice that when someone's trying to control me or get information, it feels so intrusive and it feels so like this is about you. So I've gotten this really great experience now of what I've been like. Because when I get afraid, I do all kinds of things, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting because we always see ourselves, oh, I'm codependent, I'm just caring, I'm people pleasing, I'm these positive things, right? But
Right.
really, it can be super controlling and annoying. And the thing with codependent behavior is my son and I used to talk about this. It affects the relationship negatively, just
Oh, it
like an
does.
addiction relationship. Because my son doesn't want to be told what to do. He doesn't want to be told at 16 to wear his coat. He knows to wear his coat. Or
Right.
if he doesn't, he'll be cold. That's up to him. He doesn't want to be treated like a child, like a little
Right.
child. And so that's the thing. It really doesn't work for either party. Either
No.
party. So
Because when
that's really
someone
key
starts to talk
too.
to me like that, like I'm a child, like reminding me of something I don't need a reminder of, ooh, that activates me too.
Exactly.
I'm pissed. I'm
Yeah.
like, I remember one time actually, because my ex mother in law, God love her, we have a great relationship, but she has some real anxiety around stuff. And she would do that. She did that with her son, and she would do that with me around my kids too. And I remember this one example. I pissed everybody off,
Yeah.
but my oldest was a baby. He was like less than a year old and still wore little swimmers to swim, right? Because he was in diapers.
Yeah.
And we arrived to the place where we're all staying for this like fun family time. And she's like, did you remember? I've already been reminded no less than 5 times about these little swimmers. Okay. And then we show up and she's like, you brought the little swimmers, right? And I said, yes, I'm not a child. Oh my God, I pissed everybody off so bad, but I was so done with it by that point. And that's the type
Yes.
of shit I try to hold on to when I'm the one
Yes.
acting like the crazy person, because
Yes.
I'm like, yeah,
Yes.
because I mean, if it doesn't just outright piss me off, it'll give me the ick. Like if someone's a little too needy, ick,
Absolutely.
ick, ick. Now, because some of that is it triggers other things, but like I have to get really okay, what is this? Why are you,
Yeah.
try to like live in compassion there because I don't feel compassionate when it's happening. But you're right.
Right.
Sometimes
And
it's
it
nice to experience the other end of it so you can see it doesn't feel
yes.
good for people to do that.
And you know what? It's both. It's in the sense of like the mother in law is having her own fear experience.
Hmm.
And the problem is you can have compassion for her experience, but the problem is it's now coming out on you.
Right.
So we have a right to say, "Hey, I love you, thanks for the tips, but I don't need to hear it anymore." Like, but the problem is usually we wait too long to speak up, and then we're enraged.
And then we blow up.
So that's
Yeah.
the trouble too. We don't speak up early enough,
Because
and
of
then we
my
lose
own
it.
codependence, I didn't speak up. Yes,
Yes.
this has been where
Yes.
this is showing up the most for me right now, is this exact
Yes.
thing. I am having to stand in my own authority and autonomy to tell people, well, not even always tell people, but when I need to tell them, back up, I'm having to do that. And then the other part
Yes.
is learning when I don't have to say anything, because I kind of thought actually, I felt like I understood boundaries so well until losing my son. These last almost 6 months, uh, things would come up where I'm like, I wanna tell them to not text me or, something like that. But the thing
Yeah.
is that, like, I get activated when I receive a text that is a little bit difficult for my brain to interpret, and then I can't formulate a response because that's new for me. That's something that I have only experienced in grief because I'm
Yes.
a fucking Gemini. All I do is talk and think so it's new for me, and it activates me every time when I feel overwhelmed by a conversation. So I would get really pissed and be like, just don't fucking text. But then I was like, Melissa, you don't have to respond. Like you can put it away and come
Yes.
back to it. You can never respond. Like just because somebody has sent you a message doesn't mean you have to interface with it in any specific way. So that has been really big for me.
Absolutely.
And then also
Yes.
just like when someone says something that is truly unhelpful, um, or even so one of the things that I've been going through over the last 6 months that I haven't spoken about publicly is that I knew there was an investigation into who sold my son the pill that had the
Oh.
bad shit in it that killed him. I wasn't talking about it because
Ah.
it was an investigation, right? And um, I didn't tell his dad or his family that that was happening because I knew with past behavior that I was going to be receiving all these messages of like, have you heard anything? Have you
Right.
heard anything? Have you heard anything? And so I just chose not to. And then there's been I told them once there was an arrest made and stuff, what was happening. But the other part of that too is like when the times that I've had to say like here's my boundary, like my oldest was graduating with his associates, and so I said, hey, here's a general information, but you'll have to get the rest of the information from him because I can't handle conversations all the time right now. Well, he sucks at responding to messages, so they would then come to me. And I had to decide
Right.
then, you don't just keep saying, talk to him. I can ignore the fucking message. So those are the ways where codependence has really fucked with me, is feeling like I have to respond to anything. It seems very innocuous, but if you are activated by it, it's not. And you have to listen to what's activated and then still build that tolerance. It requires tolerance to be able to sit my phone down and know that the world isn't gonna end if I upset them by not responding, you know?
Yes. Yes. Huge. I mean, we could probably talk about boundaries of texting like for hours, but it's really true. Like you don't have to text anyone back. And you can also just say, I'm overwhelmed and I won't respond for a while or whatever. You can say basically whatever you want,
Yeah.
which, and a lot of times it's really helpful. Instead of, like, we wanna get mad at them, but just expressing kind of what we're feeling and then what
Yes.
works and doesn't work is really helpful.
Yeah,
I
because you
just
know what I've
can't
noticed?
talk
People really do wanna help. They don't wanna be
Yes,
harmful. Their texting patterns are their texting, and as a person who was a fucking texter, like a mad woman all the time, I get it, and it's been helpful to be on this side of things, that I took other
yes,
people's lack of responses before so personally, and now I'm like, "Damn, that
yes,
really didn't have shit to do with me, did it?" Because this doesn't have anything to do with anyone other than my capacity for receiving information, regurgitating, any of that. Like, I just can't. It doesn't, my brain does not work the way it used to work now. So sorry, but not sorry, But yes. And so I have found people are
absolutely.
pretty responsive to, like, I've kind of just made a general blanket statement to people, not like us, if I don't want to respond, I don't respond. But like in
Yeah.
general, the people in my life who care about me know I'm not always going to respond to you. It may be days. If you send me something that requires my brain to work in a certain way, you're going to have to wait until my brain has the capacity to do that. And that's that. And I
Absolutely.
don't feel bad about it. I can't help how my brain is, you know?
No, but that's also part of grief. I mean, confusion, mental, fogginess, obviously depression. But yeah, your brain not quite working the same way in grief is pretty normal, I would say. I
Yeah.
mean, my mother-in-law lost her husband, and she for the last, like, couple of months, that's what she talks about a lot. She's like, "I just can't think straight. I just can't think clearly. I can't make decisions." So, yeah, all that stuff is just is totally normal. And, of course, you're not gonna wanna and overwhelm, like, just getting overwhelmed by smaller things, like the
Yes.
capacity, the bandwidth. You don't have the bandwidth anymore. Yeah.
Oh my god, at all. That's been the
Yeah.
wildest change because internally a lot didn't shift just because of all the work I had put in before he died. So that was the weird
Yes.
thing was at first I was like, I don't know, it's hard to identify where I've changed, but then this started coming up and I was like, "Ooh, my capacity is a fraction of what it used to be." Things
Yes.
overwhelm me so
Yeah.
quickly, and now everyone in my life is very used to hearing me be like, "I don't have the capacity for that. I'm so sorry." Like,
Yeah.
I don't have the capacity for that. Lots of things, lots and lots of things, but especially something that requires mental processing. It just is so,
Yeah.
like, but, like, I'm not great at administrative tasks that I used to be fine at. Like, I'm not saying I've
Yes.
ever done great at, like, sending people links after a record, things like that. But I was pretty on top of things. Now I'm like, I might let you know the day before it airs. You may find out the day of. I don't know. I don't know, but I'll do my best. But that's something
Yeah.
like I can't beat myself up about it and I cannot hold anybody else's response to it. I just can't because
No.
if it was something I could help, I would do something about it. There's nothing I can do right now except embrace where I am in this stage. That's it.
Amen. I mean, yeah, I mean, grief to me, it's like it's your own process and it's honoring. I always say when something happens and someone's in grief, just get rid of anything that's not absolutely necessary and
Mhm.
just simplify your life and be okay with the smallest thing because sometimes it takes a lot just to do a small thing. And the fact is, it affects you in whatever way it's affecting you, and it's honoring that. And then
Mhm.
but for codependent people, I think there can be a lot of shoulds. "Oh, I should be
Yes.
able to do this because 'cause these people are usually over functioners and
Yeah.
caretakers and, superstars, and I'm doing 90 things in one day. And so this idea of like, "Oh my god, I can only do this or I only have the energy." The whole energy thing is
Ooh,
another thing.
energy.
She's
That's
been
the big
talking
one.
about being so exhausted all the time. So, yeah, it's really respecting just what and honoring whatever you're capable of today, and it could be different tomorrow, it could be different next week. Yeah,
Yeah, I always do
absolutely.
feel like so much gratitude on the days where I have more energy and
Yes.
but honestly, I've had more energy once I quit resisting the fact that I had no energy. Like it once
Yes.
I got to it, it was like, and you just have no energy. That's fine. You don't have to write a story about it.
No. And I hate to say, like, what we resist persists, but it really is true.
No, it
If
is.
I'm trying to pretend that I'm not exhausted, it's just going to keep getting worse and worse. And I'm going to keep getting reminders that I just need to rest. And the only reason we wouldn't rest is because we're making up a story about what it means, you know, because we're
Absolutely.
women, right?
So real.
Right.
So real. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
100%. I've started to ask myself, as compared to what? And that has helped
Yes.
me so much. That has helped me so much, and
Yeah.
outcomes aren't the thing I need to measure productivity by. So, those are the things that I've really had to work on, because who I am in relation to others has just been it's been a really like, that's been pivotal to figure those things out and to
Yeah.
understand all the fucking sneaky ways codependence is popping up. And we
Yes.
sometimes there's perfectionism with codependence. Sometimes there's
Yes.
overthinking with like, codependence really is interweaved into most of the things we're experiencing, and so attacking overthinking is great, but where does codependence relate to what you're overthinking about? Where does it relate to what you're worrying about?
Right, because I mean, to me, underneath the behavior is always fear. Because
Mhm.
codependency is going to come out in a variety of presentations. I mean, you could have someone who's super controlling, super angry, bossy, critical, blah blah blah. That's from their own fear. Then you can come with someone who's like super depressed, passive aggressive, manipulative, forgets to pick you up or whatever. That's also codependence out of fear. So people
Yeah,
can have two totally different presentations, but it's really looking at what is the underlying fear that's directing the behavior. And the behavior
absolutely.
is usually things that we learned in childhood that worked. They don't necessarily work now, like manipulation doesn't work, or screaming at someone doesn't work, but if it's what you were taught at the time, it's what your go-to is gonna be under stress.
Yep,
So you just gotta recognize that and think of, "Gee, what are some other options that might work better?"
and
Yeah.
understand that doing all of this work doesn't mean it's never gonna happen again. It's
No.
still gonna happen, and you just have to address it anytime it does.
Yeah, I mean, a friend of mine always says, like, sometimes if you just don't have the energy to do the boundary or say what you mean or be clear, it's okay to do the codependent thing when you know it. It's okay. Sometimes we just don't have it in us to do it. And that's okay. You're not perfect. I
Right.
mean, on our YouTube channel, we always talk about stuff. Do we call it codependency confessions? Like, we still are doing stuff. And it's okay, to kind of recognize that. So,
Absolutely. I love that.
anyways,
Well, man, I have loved having you again. I
I
hope that
know
you
we
are
got
gonna
to wrap
continue to
up
come
once
back.
again. Of course.
Remind people, okay, so before I forget to say this, I will link our last episode in the show notes as well, and all of
Okay.
your links, but you just verbally remind us where we can find you.
Yeah, so drsarahmichaud.com is my website. Um, at Leaving Crazy Town with Finn and Sarah is my YouTube channel. And definitely go on there and subscribe. And we just have a lot of fun and talk about serious topics, but we have a lot of laughs too. So if you need
And
some
get the book,
laughter, go to the
Code
channel.
Crazy.
And the book Code Crazy, yeah, is on Amazon or my
Hell yeah.
website. You can email me. Yeah,
I'll make sure I link all of that stuff. I'm so excited. I've loved having you.
it's
I'm
great to
excited.
chat with you again, my friend. Hang in
Me
there.
too. Okay, I'm gonna
Okay.
press stop if you'll hang out for 1 sec.
Yep.
Thanks for coming to Emotionally Unavailable. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share.